Hey there, everybody. Well, it is finally here. For the past 18 months, Charles and I have been working with developers to create an AI clone that has been educated with over 1,500 hours of videos that I've done, all of the research papers that I've done, and all of the books that I've written. So instead of going to a generic AI that could give you answers from who knows where, using the Doc Snipes clone will provide you answers and inline citations that give you more information based on the research that I've done using the holistic trauma-informed pieces model that we talk about so much in all of my videos. The clone can be really useful as just a therapist extender if you have clients that need additional touch points throughout the week. They need additional reminders of skills they have, or they want to practice using skills that they have learned in session. The clone can be really helpful with that. It can also be great for people in early recovery, and it can be great for clinicians to help you figure out what to put in a treatment plan, or to help you figure out what else might be going on with your client that is contributing to their symptoms. I've done the research for you. Now all you have to do is ask the clone, and it will give you suggestions and ideas. Like any clones, it can make mistakes, but we have worked really hard fine-tuning the responses, and I go in on a daily basis and I check the conversations for accuracy. So we're in the process, and it will be an ongoing process of enhancing what we've got, but I am really excited about this new product that will make basically the AMAs that we do on Monday available to you through the clone 24 hours a day. Good morning, everybody. This is going to be a demonstration of calling and talking with my coach clone. At the end of my conversation with my coach clone, I will show you how to go in and view your transcript so you can also see any references or other tools that the coach identified and do a deeper dive if that interests you. So let's get started.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dawn-Elise Snipes. How can I help?
Good morning, Doc Snipes. I wanted to check in with you and do my morning mindfulness routine as part of my relapse prevention plan. Are you ready?
Good morning. I'm glad you're here and ready to dive into your morning mindfulness routine. Let's get started. What's the first thing you'd like to focus on today?
Well, generally going through my routine physically, I'm feeling a little tired because it was a busy weekend, but overall I got a fair amount of rest, so I'm not feeling too bad considering. Interpersonally, it was wonderful because my kids came over this weekend and we spent a lot of time together, and they actually got along, which was wonderful. Emotionally, I'm feeling content. I can't say that I'm exhilarated about anything, but it was a long weekend and I will take content any day. Cognitively, I'm a little foggy, and I think that's from the long weekend. And what I've decided to do is really make a point of making lists today and writing things down to keep me on track and trying to be as compassionate with myself as possible, because after all, it is a Monday and a Monday after a holiday. Environmentally, I don't have any triggers around me right now. My house is relatively clean after the holidays, so that's always a good thing. And I think I'm feeling pretty set on what I need to do today. I have a lot to do, and my biggest relapse trap this week will be trying not to get overwhelmed.
It sounds like you had a fulfilling weekend with your family, which is wonderful to hear. Feeling a bit tired and foggy after a busy time is completely normal. Making lists is a great strategy to keep yourself organized and focused, especially on a Monday after a holiday. It's also fantastic that your environment is supportive right now. To manage the potential overwhelm, consider breaking tasks into smaller, manageable steps and taking short breaks to recharge. How effective do you think this approach might be for you today?
I think that'll probably be pretty effective. My biggest concern is I've got an appointment for orientation at my new job that hasn't been set yet, and I have no idea when it's going to be set or how much lead time they're going to give me. And I really don't like having that ambiguity hanging out there.
It's understandable to feel uneasy with that uncertainty. One approach is to reach out to your new employer and ask if they can provide a tentative timeline for when the orientation might be scheduled. This could help ease some of the ambiguity. Meanwhile, consider writing down your concerns about this situation and examining the facts for and against each worry. This can help ground you in what's within your control. How do you feel about trying this approach to manage the uncertainty?
Well, I've already reached out to them and they tell me they don't know when they're going to have the orientation, which is part of the problem. But as far as examining the thoughts, you're probably right. I mean, what are they going to do? Fire me before my first day? And it's not reasonable to expect me to turn on a dime and suddenly drop everything and show up for an orientation with less than 24 hours notice. So I guess you're right. The other thing I guess we can talk about while we're here is Thanksgiving holiday. And as I mentioned, mine went well, but I'm really frustrated because my daughter went to her husband's families for Thanksgiving, and they were very disrespectful, and they don't believe or understand celiac disease, and she's tried to explain it to them. She even brought her own food so she wouldn't get exposed to gluten. And they pressured her, and I don't exactly know what that means, but they pressured her into eating some of their food anyway. And so she was exposed to gluten, which means that for the next week, she's going to be fighting off horrible stomach cramps and pains and other things. And it's just so frustrating. They've been together for 6 years now, and his family is totally unwilling to respect even some of the most basic issues that my daughter presents.
It sounds like you're dealing with a lot of frustration, and understandably so. It's tough when loved ones aren't respected, especially when it comes to something as serious as celiac disease. Your daughter's efforts to protect herself by bringing her own food show how proactive she's been, and it's disheartening that her boundaries weren't honored. This situation highlights the importance of setting and maintaining firm boundaries, even if it means having difficult conversations. Encouraging your daughter to express how this experience affected her might help, and perhaps discussing with her husband how they can approach his family together in the future could be beneficial. How do you feel about supporting her and having these conversations?
Unfortunately, we've already had those conversations, and no matter what she says to his family, they ignore her, they disrespect her, they don't believe her, and she's provided information about celiac disease. She's provided information about what she can and can't eat and why. And they don't seem to care. And her husband, unfortunately, doesn't stand up for her. It seems like he gets steamrolled by his parents. And obviously, without me being there, don't exactly know how things are going down. But his only response is, well, maybe we shouldn't go. And that doesn't seem to be a reasonable response.
It sounds like a really tough situation for your daughter, and it's understandable that you're feeling frustrated. When boundaries aren't respected, it can be incredibly disheartening. It might be helpful for her to have a candid conversation with her husband about how this affects her and the importance of him being an advocate for her needs. Sometimes having a united front can make a difference. If his family continues to disregard her health needs, it might be worth considering alternative ways to celebrate holidays that prioritize her well being. How do you feel about discussing these possibilities with her?
Well, I guess that's possible. Maybe they could attend through Zoom or something so they're not actually there, because she's already had discussions with him and he knows how bad it impacts her. He sees the pain and he has to pick up all the chores when she's not able to really function because she's been, as she puts it, glutened. But that's a good idea. Maybe trying to figure out different ways to celebrate the holiday that are safer for her, since they're not even respecting her physical boundaries. Okay, well, thank you for your chat today. I will talk to you tomorrow.
You're welcome. I'm glad we could explore some alternatives that might help your daughter feel more comfortable and respected during the holidays. It's important to find ways that prioritize her well-being. I look forward to our chat tomorrow. Take care until then.
Okay, so now I've ended the conversation and I can go back to where I was. And this part's a little bit cumbersome, but it's okay. You just go back to the main screen where you can call or message. And if I click on messages, then, whoops, I can click on right here. It says conversation. And I can see the entire conversation. And when I mouse over a particular response, I can see the citations, and it takes me directly to the place in the video that I talk about whatever the issue is. So you still have those same inline citations that you had in the prior AI, which I really like. And as you saw, you can go back over and review your conversations. If you're in recovery or whatever, you can see your progress. So this can be kind of like journaling. And you can also come down here and you've got 3 little buttons, and you can share the conversation with your therapist, with your sponsor, with somebody who may benefit from it, if you will. So that's another beautiful thing about the AI. When you do it through text, it's a little slower because you're typing, but you will see the inline citations in every response. I hope this gave you a little bit more information about what the Doc Snipes AI clone coach, whatever we're calling it now, looks like and can do for you. I think it's a wonderful tool for people who are in early recovery, for people who need a therapist extender, somebody to remind them of tools that they can use between therapy sessions. It's obviously not a replacement for therapy, but it can really help in the moment when people just need a little bit of feedback about, okay, remind me of what tools I can use, or remind me what I'm supposed to do right now because I'm in distress, I'm in my fight or flight mode, and I'm not in my wise mind. So help me get back to it. Additionally, talking to the clone can help you focus on what's going on and get out of your emotional mind and more into your wise mind, because you're problem solving, if you will. So that's another benefit of it. Everybody have a wonderful day, and I am going to do another video in just a minute on the expert clone so you can see the difference. Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to this demonstration of my expert clone. The other video focuses on the coach clone, which is more conversational. The expert clone gives longer-winded, more detailed answers. So I'm going to try to stick to similar content to what we talked about with the coach clone so you can see the difference in responses.
Hello, what can I assist you with today?
Hi, Doc Snipes. I am doing my Monday morning check-in for my relapse prevention plan, my mindfulness inventory. I am feeling pretty good overall, physically, interpersonally, emotionally, and environmentally. Cognitively, I'm a little foggy because it was a long weekend. It was a holiday weekend and we had family over and it was just a wonderful time. But I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I got good sleep, but it was still draining having so many people here. So that's my biggest challenge today is making sure I write things down and stay focused. The biggest challenge for the week is trying to avoid becoming overwhelmed because I have so much to do and I have a training on Thursday and Friday. So my first 3 days of the week, I've got to get everything done that I normally get done in a normal week.
Hey there, it sounds like you had a fulfilling weekend, but I hear you on the exhaustion front. It's like when you've had a great workout and your muscles are pleasantly sore. You're feeling the effects of all that social interaction, which can be both energizing and draining. Now, about that cognitive fog, it's perfectly normal after such a busy time. Writing things down is a fantastic strategy to help you stay on track. Think of it as creating a roadmap for your day. You might also consider breaking your tasks into smaller, more manageable steps. This way, you can tackle one thing at a time without feeling overwhelmed. It's like eating an elephant one bite at a time, right? As for your week ahead, with the training on Thursday and Friday, it sounds like you have a lot on your plate. Prioritizing tasks can be really helpful here. Ask yourself, what absolutely needs to be done today? And what can wait? This can help you focus your energy where it's most needed. And remember, it's okay to ask for help if you need it. Whether it's delegating tasks or simply talking things through with someone, reaching out can make a big difference. How are you planning to manage your energy and tasks this week?
Well, I guess there are a few things that I can delegate. That's a good idea. And the rest of them, I just need to try to get done what I can get done. Obviously, I've got things down on a list. And you're right, there are a couple things like getting ready for Wednesday's class that I have to get done. And the live that I'm doing today at 12, I have to get done. But everything else is kind of fluid in there. So that's good. The other issue that's kind of stressful is I'm supposed to be starting orientation for a new job or starting a new job and doing orientation. And we were supposed to do it last week and that didn't happen. And I haven't been told, even though I've asked my employer, when the orientation is going to be scheduled. And I don't like that ambiguity. I don't like waiting and wondering, are they going to call me and expect me to be there in an hour?
It sounds like you've got a lot on your plate, and that uncertainty about the job orientation can definitely add to the stress. It's like waiting for a bus that doesn't have a schedule, right? You know it's coming, but when? One thing you might consider is reaching out to your employer again, maybe framing it as needing to plan your week effectively. Employers usually appreciate knowing that you're eager and organized. In the meantime, focus on what you can control. You've got your list, which is great. Prioritize those must-do tasks like your class prep and the live session. For the rest, give yourself permission to let them be fluid. It's okay to have some flexibility, especially when you're dealing with unknowns like the job orientation. And remember, it's perfectly normal to feel uneasy with ambiguity. It's a bit like trying to walk on a tightrope without knowing where the end is, but you got the skills to balance it out. How are you feeling about managing your energy and focus with all this going on?
It's a little overwhelming, but I know I can do it. I just have to put my mind to it and plug through. The other thing that's kind of weighing on my mind this last weekend was Thanksgiving. And I had a wonderful visit with my kids. It was awesome. But then my daughter and her husband went to his family's house, and she has celiac disease. And they've explained to his family that she has celiac disease and she can't eat gluten. And she even made her own food and brought it with her, so there was no risk of exposure. She had to work the next day and couldn't risk having a flare up from the celiac disease. However, when they got there, the family pressured her and guilted her into eating. And despite trying to again, remind them of her celiac disease and the consequences of it. And despite her husband trying to help her navigate, somehow she got pressured into eating something that had gluten in it, and she is continually right now in a lot of pain. And it'll go away, usually a week or two after she's exposed to gluten, the pain subsides. But it's just frustrating for me that despite her trying to set and maintain those physical boundaries and communicate with the family what she needed, and that it wasn't a criticism of their cooking, it was that she can't eat gluten, and this is why, that they completely disregarded that and disrespected her.
Oh, I can absolutely understand your frustration. It's tough when boundaries are set, especially for something as critical as health, and they're not respected. It's like building a fence to keep your garden safe, only to have someone trample right through it. Your daughter's situation is a classic example of how important it is to stand firm on boundaries, even when others don't understand or respect them. Now, when it comes to family dynamics, it can be particularly challenging. Sometimes people don't realize the seriousness of conditions like celiac disease, or they might think a little won't hurt, which we know isn't true. It's crucial for your daughter to have a conversation with her husband about how they can present a united front. This way, they can both advocate for her needs more effectively in the future. One approach might be to have a candid discussion with the in-laws, perhaps outside of a holiday setting, to explain the situation again. Sometimes people need to hear things multiple times before it really sinks in. You might also consider exploring alternative ways to celebrate that don't involve food, or at least not in a way that puts her at risk. Virtual gatherings or focusing on activities that don't center around meals could be options. It's also important for your daughter to give herself permission to say no firmly and walk away if necessary. It's not easy, but her health is paramount. How is she feeling about addressing this with her in-laws moving forward?
Not good. Every time she goes over there, they try to make it into a a thing if she doesn't want to eat. And she's explained to them multiple times, and her husband's explained to them multiple times that she can't be exposed to gluten. And they even told her what she was eating didn't have gluten in it, but based on her symptoms, it had gluten in it. I mean, her symptoms present within about 30 minutes to an hour. Basically, as soon as the food leaves her stomach and hits her small intestine, she starts experiencing, wicked abdominal cramps. So, going to work on Black Friday, she was really struggling because of her pain, and that kept her from sleeping well. So she was foggy anyway. And it's really frustrating that they refuse to respect her boundaries. Now, I will say they don't respect her husband's boundaries either. But when it comes to health, as you pointed out, it's just so crucial. And I don't know what to suggest at this point. Your suggestion of virtual holidays is possible, but most likely, given other suggestions that they've proposed in the past, it will get shot down.
It sounds like you're in a really tough spot, and I can feel the frustration coming through. It's like trying to build a sandcastle while the tide keeps coming in and washing it away. Your daughter's health is non-negotiable, and it's disheartening when others don't see the gravity of the situation. One approach might be to have a more structured conversation with her in-laws, perhaps involving a third party who can mediate or advocate for her needs. Sometimes hearing it from someone else can make a difference. Another angle to consider is setting firmer boundaries. If attending these gatherings is consistently harmful, It might be necessary to limit participation until there's a clear understanding and respect for her dietary needs. It's not easy, but sometimes stepping back can send a powerful message. You could also explore alternative ways to connect with the family that don't revolve around meals, like engaging in shared activities or outings that don't involve food. Encouraging your daughter to have a heart-to-heart with her husband about how they can both stand firm together might also be beneficial. A united front can sometimes shift the dynamics. It's about finding that balance between maintaining family connections and safeguarding her health. How does she feel about taking a more assertive stance in these situations?
She feels she's being as assertive as she can possibly be. And as I mentioned earlier, she's already had that heart to heart with her husband. And getting him to stand up to his parents is not going to happen. It's just not. He won't stand up to them. However, as you were talking, it occurs to me that maybe he can go to Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner with his family by himself if they're not going to respect her dietary needs.
It sounds like you're really thinking through some practical solutions here. If her husband attending those gatherings solo is a possibility, it might indeed be a way to protect her health while still maintaining family connections. It's like choosing to step back from a situation that repeatedly causes harm, which can be a powerful form of self-care. This approach might also give her husband a chance to communicate to his family the seriousness of her condition without her having to endure the pressure firsthand. It's important for your daughter to feel empowered in her decisions, especially when it comes to her health. Sometimes taking a step back can be a way to set a firm boundary, signaling that her health needs to be respected. If she chooses to do this, it might also open up opportunities for her to create new traditions or ways of celebrating that are more aligned with her well-being. How does she feel about this potential change in holiday plans? It could be helpful to explore how she can still feel connected and supported during these times, even if she's not physically present at the family gatherings.
I agree with you, and that's something I will talk with her about maybe him going without her until the family starts respecting her dietary needs. It seems like a pretty small ask, especially, like I said, since she brings her own food. I appreciate your feedback, and I will talk to you next time.
I'm glad to hear that you're considering this approach. It's all about finding ways to protect her health while still maintaining those family connections. Sometimes stepping back can be a powerful way to set boundaries and communicate the seriousness of her needs. If you need more resources or want to explore further, you can always check out DocSnipes.com for worksheets and resources, or head over to youtube.com/DocSnipes for videos that might be helpful. Take care, and I look forward to our next chat.
And just like with the coach clone, you can go hit the little caret here to go back, click message, and then you can mouse over the conversation or mouse over the hamburger, and you can open up today's conversation and look at the citations where things were answered. And you can even replay parts of the conversation if you want to. And finally, you can let people know. You can share this with others. So I hope that gives you some insight on different ways you can use the two different clones. I like the expert clone because I like having shorter answers, more back and forth. I don't like having somebody just kind of go on and on. But if you're looking for something that's more advice oriented as opposed to conversational and interactive, then the coach clone might be a better fit for you. I encourage you to try them both out. You can try both of them out for free and choose the one that seems to fit the best for you. Hey there, everybody. And for this third and final demonstration, I'm going to give you an idea of what it looks like and what's different when you chat with my clone via text. We're going to use the expert clone because its responses are a lot longer and is going to give you a better idea. Now, when you first click on messaging, it opens up to where you left off, your old messages. You scroll down a little bit and you can type. And don't worry if you misspell, it's good at reading typos. Now, you'll notice in the other conversations and the other examples, you didn't have the inline citations actually popping up in the response, so you could mouse over them. I personally like this better, so I can see exactly which citation goes with which paragraph. But that's just my preference. Unfortunately, we got to make do with whatever the company that runs this clone does. But you can see those inline citations. I'll do one more. So again, I asked it about the causes of depression. And if you've watched my videos, you know that I take a very holistic approach to identifying the underlying causes of your symptoms. Instead of just putting a Band-Aid on it, we look at really what's causing that dysregulation. So it identified potential areas in all pieces of life that might be contributing to it. Here I asked it to develop a treatment plan for the symptoms of fatigue and depression caused by hypervigilance and trauma using the PIECES method. So it goes through and it gives you suggestions for things you can do in any of the pieces of your life to better improve your HPA axis functioning, your nervous system functioning, and address those symptoms of depression and fatigue. And again, you have these inline citations, so you can mouse over them. You can see more and get a more in-depth response if you really want to do a deep dive.